Hey everyone, this is Will. I just did some repairs on my Yamaha P-95 weighted keyboard, and I wanted to share with you guys some things that I figured out. I started off learning some things from YouTube videos that people have already put out that were really good to help me get to the point that I got. But then after that, I figured out some things that I haven't seen yet on YouTube that I wanted to share with you guys. Maybe this will help you fix a problem you're having as well. So, the two problems that I was having with this keyboard was there were two keys. They happened to be in the bass range. It was this D and this F sharp that were actually rattling. So it was like when you press down the key, there was an extra unpleasant rattling sound when the key would come back up. And it was annoying enough that I did want to try and repair it. And in addition, the D, so the D and the F sharp were both doing that rattling, but also the D one was, the key was like hanging a little bit low, so it was like in this position at all times. So it was like, I don't know, maybe an eighth inch or a little less, like kind of sagging down. So that's another thing that I wanted to fix. There was another problem, but I'm going to go ahead and show you about this one first. So what it turned out to be was actually inside of this key, of these keys, there's a few different mechanical pieces that work together to basically make it all work nicely. And not all of them are like screwed in together. Some of them sort of snap in together and fit together in just a way where you just push the two pieces together. That's how they're assembled. And basically one of those components in there was had just fallen off after being played for so long, apparently. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what that piece was. Also, to get it to this point, as I said, I followed another YouTube video that someone put up. They did a really great job, and I'm going to link that video in the description. So that will help you get to this point. There's actually, I would say it's about a 20-minute job to get it to this point. There's a lot of screws. I would say the most difficult part about it is just that you're going to be unscrewing a lot of screws. But once you get it to this point, and you've made sure to take care, especially with these ribbon cables, which are fragile, then this is where I'm going to go ahead and proceed and show you how to fix that problem I was talking about. So, the different parts of this keyboard are separated into like smaller panels, so you may not be able to see it really clearly, but here is a division in between these keys, and here's another one here. So this is a panel that actually lifts out by itself, so it's not all completely one piece. This will lift out on its own, so I'm going to show you how to do that. First, we're going to remove all 4 of these screws that go with that panel. And you'll be able to know which panel you're on just by looking closely. You'll see that there's a full division in this black plastic. So I'm going to go ahead and remove these 4. One thing I forgot to mention is that you'll notice I have this actually on a bed, so this is on a soft mattress. There's actually some merit to using that because with some of the more delicate parts like this keyboard, during most of the disassembly up to this point, you're going to have the keyboard facing down onto your surface. So there's actually an advantage in having it be something soft like this so that you're not digging all these keys into like a hard desk or something. Okay, so next, what I was first doing when I got to this point was I was noticing that like the black keys wanted to come off fine, but not the rest of the white keys, and I didn't understand why at first. The reason is, I'll tilt this a little bit so you can see, these 2 little tabs, they're meant for you to be able to grab onto and lift. And then what it actually does Okay, so it might take a little bit more, and you might have to fiddle with it a little bit and kind of lift off different pieces at different times, because it can be kind of like lodged in there a little bit. But don't pull anything so hard that you're going to break anything. If you're having to pull like with extreme strength, then you can go ahead and bet that you're not doing it the right way. So then this all comes off. So now we have this. There's different layers to this, so you want to try and hold it from up here so you're not separating anything and giving yourself extra work. What I figured out was actually the problem with those rattling keys is, I'll try and show you this so you can see it pretty well. Notice also that there's grease, so it's going to be messy a little bit to do this part. But like, if you look closely at some of the white keys, you can see that there's this black piece that sits on top. That's actually like a rubber piece that has a softness to it, and that is one of the parts that will actually mute the extra noise that will be added when you're playing. What had happened is with that D key and the F sharp key both, those had fallen off. Actually, in the case of the F sharp, it had partially fallen off. Or no, they both completely fell off, actually. I discovered another one that was starting to fall off. So these things will fall off, and I'll actually show you how they come off. I'll do it with an example on this one here. Sorry about the camera, I'm not amazing at that part. To get that off, this slides into place in that direction. It slides out of place in the opposite direction. So I'm going to go ahead and pull it out. Okay, actually, I don't know if it's going to be too helpful for me to pull it out because they do sit in there and they're held together with little sort of clip parts that keep them in. So they're kind of difficult to get out, which is actually a good thing because you don't want them to fall out. But basically, if you take apart your keyboard because you're having that problem, what you need to look for is one of these little rubber black pieces has fallen off. One of them was actually in the larger case of the keyboard, so in that part back there. So look around in that area, get a good flashlight or something to help you out. The other one was actually fallen off and was in one of these cavities of one of these white keys. So yeah, that's how that problem works. Now I'll talk to you about the other one I was having. I won't fasten that back together just yet. The other problem I was having, I'm going to pick you up and bring you over here. The other problem I was having was a worse problem where it happened to be on the high end, and I think this was because there was one time where this keyboard fell from a foot or so. It was on the upper end of the keyboard. It was this high B flat, A flat, and E flat. All three of these ones where the keys were just stuck, so it's like you couldn't even press it down at all. They were just stuck in an up position. You couldn't play them, no sound, anything. What I figured out when I took these apart is I noticed that curiously with each and every one of those, these weighted metal pieces here, so these are the weight mechanisms, they were all shoved about 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch that way, which is not what we want. So when I looked inside and noticed that, I was like, okay, I can see that there's something up there. After looking in here and kind of sizing up what that mechanism is and how it works, I figured out that really these things just needed to be pulled back this way. The force of that fall had shoved them forward, and it was impeding the actual mechanism from working the way it should. So if you have that problem and you notice that, just give these a tug this way. You'll need maybe a little more force than you think, but again, you don't want to be putting like pounds upon pounds of pressure on these things or anything. That was a really satisfying fix because I was like, dang, I think I've really jacked up these keys, but then it was as simple as just pulling those weights back. So I hope this video was helpful for you. be very careful again when you disassemble and reassemble this keyboard, especially again with these ribbon cables. I know that these are fragile things. They also are taped in the factory together, and you'll have to cut that tape to be able to take it apart, because you'll have two of them that are taped together initially, but they come apart with different parts of the keyboard. So if you have them taped together and you don't realize it, you could end up like ripping those or kinking them or something, and I think they're pretty fragile, so you don't want to do any of that. Alright, thanks again for watching this Yamaha P-95 keyboard repair video, and if you have any other questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. I'm not a professional with this, but if there's something that I can answer, I will give it a shot. And once again, I'm also going to provide the link to the video that showed me all of the major disassembly that got it to this point with just the keyboard panel. Okay, one more thing I'm going to tell you that's important is when you're actually putting this set of keys back together, you have to be careful to make sure that you're lining up the whole thing with the parts underneath there, those white, bright white plastic parts. You have to make sure that these get lined up with all of the kind of pegs that are sticking up. If they don't get lined up right, then you're going to have problems. So I'm going to show you. I'll try and do my best with one hand here, but okay. So it's finding the right angle and pulling it backwards, and then watch. You do want to go through and test and make sure that you're not having keys like trigger two keys at once or something, because when I tried to put it back together just a second ago, it did do that. So you have to make sure that you're doing everything in the right position. And then once you're good with that, go ahead and screw it back together. All right, thanks so much. Take care. Thank you for watching. Bye.